Welcome to Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode.
Today is the 1 month anniversary of us getting Rue.
That went by fast.
Yeah. She's settling in nicely.
Nice.
We got her on April 6th, so.
I got Ziggy's fancy new stainless steel litter box yesterday, but I haven't set it up yet.
Nice.
Guess what the treat, the junk food I got for myself after the dojo last night was?
I don't know. What?
A gigantic bag of saltwater taffy.
Oh, wow.
I love that stuff. I've already eaten like 20 pieces.
You're going to have a bellyache. Not to mention colorful poop.
Maybe. Does it do that?
I mean, if you eat enough of anything, it will.
Well, that's true. Yeah, the dyes. I think sprinkles are actually one of the most likely one, like blue, or I don't know if it's blue or green sprinkles, but if you eat those, because they have so much coloring in them for how small they are, you will have bright green poops.
I'm one of the lucky people that my poop does turn colors every time I do anything.
Well, you've probably got malabsorption and stuff from your diabetes.
Probably. Because I have occasional gastroparesis, which I know that's not technically how it works, but mine stays at bay most of the time. And so that's also part of it. Food just sits there and sits there and sits there and sits there. I don't recommend that. That's probably my least favorite of all of my ailments.
Yeah, my Aunt Josie had it for decades before she passed, and it was, it wasn't what killed her, but it may have been the thing that caused her the most discomfort.
Yeah, because you get really bad gas from it. Like, I get what I call my egg burps, and they're like sulfur, like rotten eggs.
That's next level.
Pepto-Bismol is the only thing that settles that down. So we go through a lot.
I was, from basically the time I quit drinking until when I quit smoking a few months ago, I was taking a daily or every other day proton pump inhibitor.
What is that?
It's those pills that you take every day, and it stops you from producing stomach acid.
Oh, nice. Like Pepsid?
Yeah, Pepsid or Prilosec. There's several different ones. And because my heartburn was so bad, I had GERD, and it was god awful. Like, I could not function. But I also had a whole bunch of other GI symptoms and just really unpredictable stuff. And then, but like smoking is something that really makes that worse. And then all of a sudden, like when I quit smoking months ago, I went off of them immediately. Like sometimes I have to take a Tums or a Rolaids or something, and that's it.
That's a major improvement, though.
Yeah. It is fucking crazy how many little things smoking does to you that don't make any sense.
Yeah. I can't imagine how much worse I would feel on the daily if I was still a smoker.
Yeah, and it does get worse as you age.
Yeah. Woohoo. I don't miss it. Like, every once in a while, I'll miss it. You know, like, it'll be a long day, and I'll be sitting in traffic, and I'll look over, and one time I remember a guy was in a pickup truck, and he was pretty high up off the ground, and his window was down, and I watched him flip that cigarette between his lips and light it up and take a big, deep breath and let it out. And I was like, I wanted that experience, but I didn't want the cigarette. I wanted the release of tension that comes from that first hit of a cigarette after work.
You know what, like, one of my pet peeves is in movies is when it's in the script for someone to smoke, but the actor clearly has no idea how to smoke.
Right.
And so, like, they put it in their mouth and, hold it between their teeth or something, which I know there's different ways to do it, and then they're, like, lighting it, and they don't even know how to hold their hand, and they don't even know, like, I've seen them, like, some of them actually kind of common to hold their hand like this in front of their face and smoke. I was like, nobody does that.
Right.
That's not how, and it's not even that it's a social thing. It's the ergonomics. Like you develop a more comfortable, way to do it after practice. And so they just don't look like a smoker when they do it.
Yeah. I don't think you ever lose the fluidity that comes with that. Like, I could still, like, blow some smoke rings for you if I needed to. Using the pack, did you ever do that where you pulled up the cellophane and put the hole in it and then puffed your smoke into the cellophane and then tapped it at the top? Little rings will come out for endless, because I can't do it with my mouth. I have tried, but I found a way to do it. But I can still whip that shit out now. I would still probably. Did you ever flip a lucky?
Yeah, 2 luckies.
Why two?
1 for good luck, 1 for a good fuck.
Ah,
That was the thing in my high school.
maybe that's what I've been missing out. No kidding. I used to measure how far things were by how many cigarettes I could smoke between my house and there. School was a cigarette and a half away. When did you start smoking?
I mean, when you start as young as I did, you didn't ever, it's not actually starting, right? Because you just have one and then you never know when you'll have another one. But I am pretty sure I was 9 or 10. I usually just go ahead and say 9 because that's the worst case scenario. And I started by smoking the butts of the adults' cigarettes that they left in the trays, or picking them up outside and smoking them. Like, I don't know how I don't have some horrible disease. I actually can't remember when I started like buying my own. I was in high school. I was in 8th grade, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who sold them to you in 8th grade?
It was because we transferred to Williamsburg. Across the street from the high school was I can't remember if it was the Quick Stop or the Quick Trip. I think it was the Quick Stop. And just a little bitty convenience store. And all the kids they would get dropped off there in the morning so that parents could avoid the school line, like going through the school parking lot, and we would just walk across the street to the school. And the woman in there sold cigarettes to the kid.
That's hilarious.
If you looked old enough, like if you were a literal child, like they weren't going to sell it to you. But when I was between 7th and 8th grade, like the summer between 7th and 8th grade, I grew 5 inches.
Oh, wow.
And I was 5'8" in the 8th grade. And then also you could buy a cigarette from the older kids. Like the going rate for a cigarette was $0.25. I don't know how, because it was the same at Jellicoe as it was at Williamsburg. Everybody knew a cigarette cost $0.25. So you could also buy them. And so I would spend my lunch money on cigarettes, and I would save up my lunch money and like skip lunch or whatever, or go to McDonald's. I would if I had a shift later, I would go to McDonald's and use my dinner. You get a free meal with your shift. I would eat it for lunch and then save my lunch money for cigarettes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like they sold them to us like super young. Back then, I think people just didn't care as much because we could also buy alcohol if we drove up to Richmond. David was 15 when we started sending him into the liquor stores up at Richmond.
Oh, wow.
Because he grew a full beard and he was, 6'2", so they didn't even card him.
That's awesome.
Back then, all the clubs were 18 and up, too, so.
Yeah.
When did you start?
I started when I was 16. The first time I had a cigarette, I was around 10, I think, was the first time I smoked one on my paper route, of all things. Yeah. And then when I was 16, I was working at Fazoli's. And it really pissed me off that everybody got a smoke break and I didn't. So I started smoking to also get a smoke break. And so that's where I started smoking. It was stupid. Have you ever played the game PlaySpent, like playspent.org? Have you ever played the game Spent before? It's a poverty simulator. It's playspent.org is the website. It's a poverty simulator, and we play it every semester in my class, in my women's studies class. And you rule by majority. That's how you make decisions. And so the premise of the game is that you have $1,000 and a kid, and you've lost your home, you've lost your job, you have your car. What do you do, right? And then so you have to decide how far you're going to live away from work, and then you have to decide what kind of job you're going to get. And then it takes your money, and then you start working and getting paychecks, and then it just starts throwing all kinds of stuff at you. Your car registration is expired. Your kid needs tutoring. Your kid gets $10 in the mail for his birthday. What do you do with it? Your kid wants ice cream from the ice cream man. You broke something at work. Do you tell them? Somebody stops you in the parking lot and wants to talk about a union. Are you going to stop and talk to them? Like your car breaks down. Like all kinds of, you have a toothache. Like it throws all kinds of different scenarios at you. And the point of the game is to make it through 30 days with money at the end of the month. And then if you can make it through, it does happen, right? Usually not the first try, but you do make it through. And then it says, congratulations, you ended with like $200 in your account. Rent's due tomorrow. And back on day one, your rent was like $800, right? So why was I telling you that? We played that in class the other day. Cigarettes. Oh, one of the questions is you're under a lot of stress and one of your friends offers you a cigarette. Do you take it? I always point out that it seems obvious that the answer to that is no, But the last time I started smoking was because Andrew came over with a pack of cloves and was like, it was finals week in my first year of my PhD program. And I was like, give me one of those fucking things, you know? I was stressed out. And that's when I started smoking again. So even smart people do dumb things all the time. And I like to point that out. I think that's a very realistic option to put in there.
And thank you for sharing that fucking site, because I had been inventing that game from scratch every time I teach it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I even made currency, like cards I would give out, and it had numbers written on it. Like, so this is going to save me so much time the next time I have to teach it. It didn't even occur to me to look and see if anybody made it. Oh, that's so... Yeah. I'm embarrassed that I didn't even look to see if this already existed before fucking inventing it.
It's always a good time. In the middle of the game, you always have to go grocery shopping, right? And grocery shopping, as a majority rules, with a group of 30, undergrads, is always really interesting. They always get into an argument about whether they should buy the $1 drink mix for their kid. They're like, what else are you going to drink? Water? And they get really passionate about whether they should get fish sticks or that kind of thing. And I use you an example. I tell them if they don't get any vegetables, they're going to get scurvy.
It's true. The amount of things that we forget to even be worried about because of the privilege that we, not all of us live with access to that privilege, but we live with the knowledge of it. Yeah. We live with the knowledge and the assumptions that we should be better than that in the country that we live in. And then we get got by shit, Yep. Talking about the fact that smart people do dumb shit. I don't often do this whole, this thing happened to me specifically because it was inherited generational curses and trauma and shit like that, right? Like, I like to hold out a little hope that we do have a little bit more agency over how things go for us. But if I hadn't grown up around a bunch of adults and peers who were also smoking, maybe the answer to the question, do you want a cigarette because you're stressed out, would be, well, obviously no. Right. Maybe it wouldn't have been such an immediate yes if I hadn't seen that be the number one coping mechanism of the highest functioning people around me, right? Because even people who weren't addicts or alcoholics were smokers. And so a lot of positive associations with smoking and success and wellness and well-being, that stuff's just part of the discourse, the fabric of where I grew up.
Yeah, there's an ashtray in every one of my childhood pictures. That's one of the things I inherited from Mom was her collection of ashtrays. What am I going to do with them now except keep them in a box?
Well, I'd like to see some pictures of them because I miss them that too. Because they weren't just a tool, they were also decor. There were certain styles. I remember the blown glass ones. Mom had these bottoms on them to stop them from falling over, the beaded. Did you have I'm making this motion like I'm doing something unsavory, but they had this beanbag chair type of thing on the bottom of it so that they were harder to knock over. I do remember those.
Yeah, so it stayed in place. Yeah. Did your mom also have the sequin? I think we talked about it very early in the podcast, the sequin cigarette case.
Clasp. Yes. Yeah. It was I think it was a sponsor, and you found that amazing image of it. That was the first newsletter we did.
Maybe.
That awesome image of the teal one, and it was the exact shape. My mom didn't have that color, but she absolutely had that clasp, the fake brass clasp on top of it. And I remember, and she would sit and fidget with it, open it and close it until it was wore out.
Did your mom ever go to bingo?
No, I don't remember. I'm sure there was bingo in Corbin, I know for a fact, but I don't remember if ever hearing or knowing about bingo at Jellicoe. Jellicoe was a very liminal place. It didn't have its own things. The things it did have were kind of in service to the surrounding areas. For instance, people would come to Jellicoe to buy alcohol or to get married or something.
Right.
Jellicoe was very much like, I don't know how to put it.
That sounds like a little town called Catlettsburg, Kentucky. They have you can get married there, and they have a few little amenities like that. And it's between Ashland, Kentucky and Canova, West Virginia.
Oh man, when you Google that, the slideshow that comes up is incredible.
What, for Catlettsburg?
Yeah. It's the first thing is this amazing garish haunted house.
Have you ever heard of the pumpkin house where they have at Halloween there's 2,000 pumpkins outside of this house in West Virginia? Maybe I should do that as a noun.
Yeah, do it. I want to know more.
The West Virginia pumpkin house.
Oh my! Oh, these pictures are crazy. Yeah, you got to tell the people about that one.
Will do. It's one of those things you have to go see it to really appreciate the scale of it.
Right, because even the photos looks like, I don't know, it looks kind of like AI or something, but it's clearly not.
It's not. It's 100% real.
I don't know if I was going to change the subject to Trump's new, like, Surgeon General nominee. Right, and then I realized, like, I don't want to talk about that. Fuck her, fuck them, whatever. She's a stupid Fox News podcast host.
I haven't heard anything about that. I've been
whatever
my head in the grade book the last few days, so I've missed the news. If it wasn't on Jimmy Kimmel, I probably didn't know about it.
Did you finish?
Yes, I posted grades about 11:30 this morning. So I had a surprising number of them take my class pass-fail this year, and all of them but one got A's. One person got a C, but the rest of them got A's. So maybe my reputation precedes me.
What does that do? Last time I taught, that wasn't a thing.
It protects your GPA. So say you're going to take a class and you're afraid you might get a C in it. The pass-fail, you get more points out of it than you would from getting a C. So you take that on class. You can't take it for every class, but I think you can take up to like 3 classes as an undergrad as pass-fail, something like that.
Okay. Because I was about to say, like, what's to stop them from just doing that for everything?
Oh, yeah, there's a limit.
Okay. Because when we were doing advising last summer, like, that was one of the things, like, this, they could choose whether they wanted to take it for grades or for pass-fail. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember this.
Right. No, that's been a thing for a long time, but just they don't really talk about that as an option. But it is an option. You just don't hear about it very often.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder why they picked your class.
I don't know. My professor says my difficulty is between a 1 and a 2, so it's not like I'm have a reputation for being a difficult instructor. Some of them go up to a 3, so there's that, but most of them rate me as a 1 or a 2. I've got a bunch of awesomes and one awful.
You can't believe that's still a thing.
Yeah, they use it like the Bible.
Interesting.
It's always interesting to read your friends rate my professors.
So universities all have a report card on niche, and there's, I think maybe some student input is considered, but it's also a wide variety of metrics. But anytime I will research the hell out of an institution if I say I want to apply to it or something like that. And it's hard not to be, if you see one thing, I've noticed that, like, it kind of skews me. I think I'm becoming more negative because I'm like,
oh no.
Okay, so this community college that I'm interviewing with has a C+ rating on academic rigor. Of course it does.
It's a community college.
Right, and rigor is not like, that's something that is skewed towards research institutions because it has to do with, like, your publication and, like, your research and stuff like that, your contribution to scholarship. Community college professors, that's not part of their tenure, and they wouldn't have time to do it because they teach a 5-5.
Right. I've got a lot of learning to do this summer. I have to figure out what I need to do to teach an honors section. There's no, like, guidebook to that, apparently, which I thought there would be at least, like, some document that said, hey, this is how this works, right? I basically just have to look at other syllabi and figure out what they're doing, and there's a couple of things I can read. But I had to go chase those down, which I find interesting. And then I also have to learn how the person whose class I'm taking over, how they've been doing it. I've already been given access to one of their shells, so I can go through and look at grades and assignments and stuff like that. But I'm going to be using their info to, like, they've already recorded a bunch of videos and have activities and stuff like that. And I'm not looking to change that just for a 1-year appointment, so I'll be using their syllabus and all that. So I need to get familiar with that.
That sounds kind of stressful, though.
Yeah, it's going to be. But it got me my job back. So my boss kept saying, I'm so glad you want to teach the large lecture. I'm like, well, let's do it. It's just one more thing I can add to my CV,
Yeah. Right. And I have often thought, like, what is teaching a humanities course? I've taken those classes and I've found them different and difficult as a student. What is it like for professors to go into a situation where you can't really have that, like, discussion-based type of interaction as easily? You have to create it in other ways.
Well, it's a hybrid class. The main instruction is through the internet, like with videos and readings and things like that. And then on Fridays they meet in person with the TAs. So it's a kind of a hybrid situation. They have to come on Friday, having done the reading and listen to the videos and all that stuff so that they're prepped, and then they do the recitation on Fridays. So I think it's an interesting model. I'll be excited to. It only counts as one class. I'll have like 200 people in my class, but it only counts as one class. But it'll be worth it. Or it won't, but it'll be my only year to do it. So
That's true.
we're going to West Virginia tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, to see Shanna's family.
Yeah, we haven't been down. It's been over a year and a half. Shannon went down for my best friend's mom's funeral. I wasn't able to go because of school. So she's been home since I have, but I haven't been down since October of 24.
I want to visit home this summer.
Yeah, you should do it.
I want to try to, even if I have to drive. Oh, man, I am not going near an airport. In fact, I don't want to go near any people for a long time because of all the ways to go, I've always had such a fear of hemorrhagic fevers and things like that. Like, and also, this is just like, I'm never going to get on a cruise ship. Listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's the hantavirus outbreak on whatever cruise ship that is.
My niece loves cruises. You couldn't get me on one of those floating cities. No, that there's no escape and it could go down. Like, no, thank you.
There's a series on Netflix called Trainwreck. Have you ever watched any of those? It's just kind of each episode is a deep dive into something that went horrifically wrong. It picks apart like what went into creating the issue. I think the first one they did was Woodstock 99, and that was the first one I watched. And it's a very good example of edutainment, basically. I don't know if you'd call it investigative journalism. It's a little bit documentary, but they do interviews and stuff. And so the Woodstock one was awesome because they got a lot of the musicians, like Jonathan Davis from Korn was there, Gavin Rossdale, Jewel, people who could speak to how it actually, like what actually went into that. Do you know anything about how that went down? Do you remember Woodstock 99?
I remember it on TV, and I remember it was a shit show.
Yeah, lots of issues. So, but anyway, I found out it's a series, and one of them is on the poop cruise. Do you know about the poop cruise?
I remember hearing about that in the news. Yeah,
it wasn't long ago. And I was like, yeah. I mean, you tell me anything happened on a fucking cruise, and I'll go, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's one of the scenarios I've run. Thank you. I already covered that one. You don't need to tell me.
Have you ever been on a cruise before, or is this a new? Or
No.
This is a long-standing.
Mm-mm.
Never. Yeah,
Always been a fear of mine. Like I'm afraid of the ocean, but like not like I'm not angry at it, Like I'm even a little fascinated and impressed by it. It's I know that my fear is warranted, And so I like learning about it. I don't hate boats. I'm not opposed to that kind of thing, but I'm not, like you said, like locking myself on a fucking petri dish flotilla and hanging out with being trapped with people. Like I don't think it's claustrophobia, but like I don't like knowing that I can't leave.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And I know that would be the first thought I had is if I walk on board one of those, I'll be like, wait a minute, I can't get off of here. I'd probably jump overboard immediately. Like
no cruises for Dash. We got it.
No, not a one. Vanessa has done one, and her pictures were awesome. I think she had a good time. She said there was a little bit of like uncomfortable or like discomfort just from being on the boat. They move weird. And I've been on boats before. I don't mind boats, but not a cruise. No. Would you do
one? My
one?
niece has been on several of them. No, I've never been on one, and I never would. Like you said, I don't know if it's claustrophobic, but I need to be able to get the fuck out of there. And if I was on a boat, that wouldn't be an option, and I would go a little nuts. Because the only option of not getting off is to go down, and I'm like, drowning in the deep ocean is like my deepest fear. Like,
yes,
one of my deepest fears. I don't like holes. Like, I'm one of those people that doesn't like lots of holes and stuff. And the ocean is just one giant hole, and we don't even know what's down there. Hell no.
I think we talked about this before, but I don't know if I've told you about this specific YouTuber I like to watch who reacts to thalassophobia and submechanophobia videos on YouTube. His name is Bregman Dude Bro or something like that. Just a normal guy who has apparently, it's really interesting. I got into him because I was like, oh, he's just going to be like making fun of everything because he has this affect that seems like he's going to be a dick about stuff. But then he will watch things that scare him and he'll genuinely react like he's very scared. And then he's appreciative. And I'm like, I like somebody who can appreciate something. especially a YouTuber, because they can be so snarky, and just cynical. But anyway, he and I also share the fear of the ocean, essentially.
Right.
So, and I'll watch him watch videos.
That shit's scary to me. I think about the giant fish. Like, I grew up on the Ohio River, right? And I wouldn't even step foot in it because I've heard that there are catfish bigger than Cadillacs in that thing. And I just wouldn't do it. Hell no. I've never been on a boat on it. I've never been swimming in it. I would never step foot in it. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, not for me.
I wouldn't even put my feet in it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't sit on the dock and put nope. The giant catfish might see my foot dangling and bite me.
For all this talk, I did do a summer of whitewater rafting, and we were on the Cumberland River. This is when I was 19. My anxiety hadn't like reached its final form yet until my like mid 20s. But I knew I couldn't swim, but swimming's not a necessity when it comes to whitewater for rafting, because you can't swim in a PFD anyway. I didn't love the times when we had to be in the lake part of the parts of the river that are moving for some reason were fine with me, but the still water parts, like the open, because Lake Cumberland is large. Laurel Lake and Cumberland Lake are very big. They call Minnesota the land of, is it 10,000 lakes? I'm not going to say that there's not that many, but they're also real loose with what they call a lake around here. I was in Alexandria last night because that's where this dojo is, and I went around a curve, or I was getting ready to turn around at a stop sign, and I looked at the sign, and it said Lake Winona, and I looked at it, and I was like, "This is a puddle." It was just like in a roundabout. It was like just some still water in the middle of a roundabout, and they called that a lake, and that's pretty common. Like, there are things that I would never, that wouldn't even get a pond name in Kentucky,
Yeah.
So. Like, yeah, I think a lot of states would have 10,000 lakes in them if you counted everywhere a puddle came up. But there's also plenty of them that are fucking huge and terrifying. Some of the actual large lakes here, they're like little oceans or seas, I guess.
Just the diversity, you mean?
What do you mean?
Like the diversity of the life in it, or?
Probably that, but also like the size and the way that there's no topography. So when you see one, it's just that forever. It's perfectly flat and it doesn't move.
Can you imagine swimming in one of those lakes like in Atlanta where it's there's a city underneath it? That would just creep me out even more.
Yeah, that's submechanophobia. Like, I want to show you a submechanophobia video because there's some good ones.
PETA says hello.
Hi, PETA. Hi, PETA. It sounds like Lois from Family Guy. Oh, there's a sub. Looking for a good one. There's one in particular I'm thinking of. This is a good one. This motherfucker jumped off of it. You see that?
Are they like building a bridge or something?
No, it was an abandoned crane in the middle of an ocean.
That's creepy.
It's awful. And I wonder why. Like, is it you imagine yourself as
I think it's because we're not supposed to be there.
Right.
One of those verboten,
Yeah, like a ship under stair.
I find that shit creepy too, the statues and stuff underwater.
Oh, this is a railroad.
Well, that doesn't seem safe at all. I've been on a few ferries and stuff like that, and my parents had a pontoon boat. But I think the only time I've ever been on a riverboat was I went on to do some pictures for a school's prom one time. We were right on the Ohio River, and it was a small school, so they did their whole prom on a riverboat. I think that's the only time I've ever been on a big boat like that.
I don't know. I'll see if I can find... Ooh.
I knew a guy who was a submariner when he was in the Navy. We worked together at Amazon years and years ago. But he would tell stories about how tight it was inside the submarine and stuff like that. Oh my God, I just can't imagine. I am too claustrophobic. I can't imagine being in that confined of a space. Or have you seen the sleeping quarters for submarines? Oh my God. Ugh. I can't breathe when I just think about it. I need room. I wear my clothes big. I like my car big. I like my bed big. I just like having space. I don't like being confined.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons my mom wanted to be buried the way that she wanted to be buried, that she was originally buried. Listeners, if you haven't heard the tales of my mom, she never wanted to be buried underground, so she and my dad had this agreement that he would bury her with oh, what are they called? The vault that you could put that on top of the ground and not put her under the dirt. He put the vault in the ground, and then there was the decorative topper on top of it, and that's what came out of the ground. I had her moved and had her put in the ground totally, but that's what she wanted originally, was to not have ground between her. I figure as long as she's safe somewhere where we can go visit, that's really all that matters.
But she was worried about being claustrophobic in the afterlife.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
didn't want to be buried with shoes on or a bra.
Because, yeah, I mean, that I totally see.
We buried her in a pink cardigan that was my niece's that she stole from Haley. She loved it, so we buried her in that.
I have not really. I don't even know what our plans are for our parents. This is morbid, so I may cut it out, but I don't know. Like, we just don't talk about it.
If I can give everybody a recommendation, get shit on paper. And a will is great, but what you really need is to have something called the transfer upon death. Like when my grandmother died, they had a transfer upon death in place, and the land went directly to my dad. He didn't have to go through court. He didn't have to go through escrow. He didn't have to go through any of that stuff. It was just his because she died and they had it set up that way. My stepmother, my dad's name was on her car when he died. It took her almost 2 years to get that car in her name. And then she couldn't register it because it was in his name, so she couldn't even drive it for one of those years. So I had to go back and find titles for every one of the cars my dad had. There was like a dozen of them. If I can give you any advice is A, know what your parents want. B, know if they have life insurance and where all of that paperwork is. And C, know what the plan is if they want a funeral, where they want to be buried, if they want to be cremated, if they don't want to be on life support. All of that is very important information, because once you get to that situation, there's no way to ask. Like my dad, my adopted father, he died, he had a stroke. It was a COVID complication. He got a blood clot in his lung and he had a stroke, and he was awake and he could look at you and he cried, but he couldn't speak. That was all gone. And when mom was going through hospice, we had some very pointed discussions where he said, if I'm ever on tubes or on a machine, take me off, let me die. He was very, very specific about that. And then, a year later, it was that situation. And so we went with his wishes. And that's how that ended, right? We unplugged him and he passed away. But if you don't know what somebody wants, then you've got to make decisions and guesses. I can't recommend enough having kind of that stuff in place. It doesn't hurt you to have a transfer upon death in place. So if they own land or something, have it in place for one of y'all. That way, you don't have to go through all of the court system. I had to pay my lawyer over $10,000 just to do some paperwork for me. And you can save yourself all of that heartache by having those papers in place.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my public service message for the day.
My grandmother, who's the only remaining grandparent I have alive, is refusing to do any end of life planning. She's not in hospice. She's in a home, but she's, at that period where every few weeks they find a new thing wrong with her. And it becomes a discussion of, is it really worth fixing that or this? They're not at the stage where somebody has said, let's just make her comfortable.
Right.
But she is really enjoying refusing to talk about or set up any kind of end-of-life care. It's going to be her last way of controlling them, my dad and my Uncle Steve. It'll be the last thing that she can hold over them even after she's dead, is to make their life hell in probate court. In Tennessee probate court, the Wild West.
Oh, yeah, I imagine. I was very lucky because I was the only heir where I was adopted by Mark. My sister was not his heir. My niece was not his heir. I was the only person on paper that was related to him. So we didn't have to determine who got what. It all just went to me. And then I got to make the decisions on what money went where after we paid. He had quite a bit of bills, and he had a loan on the house and a couple of credit cards and all that kind of stuff that we had to pay off. But then I got to make decisions on where the rest of it went. So that's helpful, but that doesn't sound like that's the situation your uncle is in and your dad.
No, she's still evil.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break and hear from this week's sponsor.
Sounds good.
I wore my glasses this time, so
nice.
It'll be easier. This week's episode of Queer Next is brought to you by Wishbooks, the Wishbook catalog.
I love those.
I know. I don't know how I forgot about them, and I fell down a rabbit hole. I want to show you some stuff I found online, too. So, the annual publication that taught an entire generation of rural kids how to want things they absolutely were never going to have. Before the internet started tracking our impulses like a digital bounty hunter, there was the Wishbook. It was a catalog so thick it could prop up a sagging porch and so full of tantalizing possibility it could keep a kid occupied till the spring thaw. Every winter, that thing hit the mailbox like a sacred text, and a shoving match broke out as soon as the brown paper wrap slab entered the house. The winner would sit there with a red pen, the others craning over their shoulder to dream vicariously, circling Nintendo consoles, leather jackets with more zippers than you have socks, and enough battery-operated nonsense to brown out the Tri-County power grid. You did this knowing your mama was going to flip through it later, cackle at your audacity, and tell you to pick 2 things under $10, and one had better be socks. For a lot of us, it was our first introduction to fantasy. Not of the dragons and wizards variety, but of a becoming someone else entirely variety. You'd linger on the page with the professional grade vanity mirror, imagining your life transformed by the soft glow of those bulbs. Or you'd stare at the outdoor gear and wonder if rugged was a personality you could just buy and wear like a suit of armor. You wondered if the piece of you that felt like it was missing would be for sale someday. And whose business is it really if you gave all the underwear models names and personalities and cut them out and hid them under your pillow? The Wishbook was a tome of incredible range. You had industrial power tools on one page, porcelain dolls with haunted eyes on the next, and then suddenly a team bedroom set so aggressively teal and geometric it looked like a 1994 lesbian DJ's first apartment. These were design choices made by people who feared neither God nor the limits of polyester. And even if you couldn't afford the products in the Wishbook, you could steal a bit of audacity. It suggested that even if your family was currently using a Maxwell House can as a bacon grease repository, somewhere out there was a world in which a child owned a personal karaoke machine. The Wishbook taught us how to dream irresponsibly long before we surrendered our dreaming to the algorithm. And now, back to Queer Necks, where most of our life choices still felt like something we circled in red Sharpie.
That's awesome. I loved those things.
Oh, you're going to love this then, because some folks have digitized them and archived them on the internet.
Ooh.
So, yeah. And I've been going through them. I got a little lost in this morning. The page here has 1937 through 1975. And you just go down and pick whichever one you want, like the Christmas book. Here's the Sears Christmas book. It has every fucking page in it.
Oh, wow. That took some dedication.
Who even... Right. And then this other page here has all the way up to 2017, which was when this website was created. They may still have... Maybe they still make the wish books. I remember them from the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Looky here. This didn't update to the screen I'm sharing. There we go. Karate Ninja Master. I remember this. Look at these. The camouflage. What's it called? A pajama set. Oh, this one you can just tap between the pages. I wanted these pajama sets so bad. These little boys' pajama sets.
Yeah. I remember I had... Because I was young before the Disney princess thing became a big thing. Like, there were princesses, but it wasn't, everywhere. I remember I had strawberry shortcake on something. It was my bedroom suit, and I had a couple of nightgowns that were strawberry shortcake. I remember one time my dad got really mad at me and yelled at me because I made a list from the wish book, and I put something like multicolored t-shirts, and he didn't know if I meant like tie-dyed shirts or I meant like a shirt in blue and a shirt in green and a shirt in red, and because that's the way they would label it. So I learned to be very specific in those kinds of things. I don't want 5 t-shirts. I'll tell you exactly what I want.
Wishbook also became kind of like just the name for any kind of catalog. Like, this is the Wishbook. So like Sears, like a yearly catalog that has a collection that they've curated. Look at this Columbo motherfucker here. I think my dad had this jacket. This is the JCPenney's one. So this one.
Well, a lot of women use JCPenney because they were one of the first companies to give credit to women. Once the credit, was allowed, women were allowed to get credit cards without their husband's signatures in 1972. That's why JCPenney has things like hair salons and photo studios and all that kind of stuff in them. Those are fancy. Yeah. You should get one of those for now.
Yeah.
I'd pay money to see you in that outfit.
Yeah, every page I click on is fantastic. I've been going through these all morning. And I mean, it was, I don't know, like, this was how I learned about, like, what other people dressed like, because this was the closest fashion ever came to Jellicoe,
Right. Well, that's awesome. That was a really good one.
Did you ever actually order something from a wish book?
I didn't. Maybe Mom did. I don't know. I was never given I mean, we were more using the Raleigh coupons to order from catalogs, you know,
Yeah.
the
Right.
cigarette coupons. I don't. I mean, maybe at Finger Hut, we always had Finger Hut stuff too because you could get credit on those. But I don't remember me ever placing orders. She might have, but I wasn't privy to that information.
Yeah, I don't remember ever actually ordering something from a catalog, but I don't know. It's you can see how they went out of business, how that because they were a lot of trouble to make, I'm sure.
There are still some companies that are doing it, like the Woman Within and the King Size, and like if you order something from one of those places, they send you like 15 different magazines from different places. They still have a very vibrant catalog order system, I guess. I got my jacket from King Size, and it's wonderful. I love everything being very oversized.
I went and saw the Devil Wears Prada 2.
How is that?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I thought it was, first of all, really fun. I thought that the things that they did to sort of comment on the passage of time in the fashion industry itself were, it was a good amount. But that wasn't entirely what the story was about. It wasn't like, oh, things have changed so much, because it's like, yeah, we know, we were there. We're watching this because we saw the first one and we've lived the years in between. So you don't have to do all that. For instance, there were gestures to body positivity in advertising, representation, stuff like that. But they didn't need to preach that to us. So I appreciated that. And it was done in a way that showed that it was Miranda's character who was the one who was out of step on that, right? Like she didn't become some like empowered visionary or something. So they didn't like go redeem her necessarily, just like they did in the first one. At the end, she's still this like kind of steely-eyed monster of the industry.
I've never seen the first one.
Oh my God. I actually hadn't either. I watched it because I was going to see the second one with my friend Elise. And now I kind of want to watch the first one again. I really enjoyed it. It was such a surprising movie.
Very cool.
So yeah, if you watch it, let us know. I want to know what you think about it. And then Gaga was in it, which was exciting. And I think Anne Hathaway, I've talked to several queer women who were like younger, like millennials, or even like older Gen Z, who Anne Hathaway was formative for them having crushes on girls. And I was like, I could totally see it. She's objectively beautiful and also kind of like endearing.
Yeah.
But the main complication of the story is the death of catalogs and the impact of bespoke apps, based purchasing or algorithmic, like the evolution, because they describe the algorithm in the first one, but they describe it as people-centered. And Miranda's character, which is Meryl Streep's character, she has a bunch of really great diatribes and speeches and stuff.
She's such a good actor.
Yes, she is a very good actress. I mean, and Emily Blunt's, like all the characters were back. So Stanley Tucci and Emily Blunt, there was like one or two new characters who were also really fun and felt like necessary. Highly recommend. There have been a few like hit pieces on it. Like I've seen people it's just rage bait. I don't think anybody who says something like nobody wanted The Devil Wears Prada 2 to exist I don't think they actually mean that. I think they're just trying to get people to rage comment. Right. Either that or there's way more stupid people out there than I was aware.
Oh, there is. For sure.
You can never underestimate the amount of stupid people.
I read a thing today that said 54% of Americans read below the 6th grade level.
Have you seen the video, the TikToks? It's probably on other social media. There's a kid walking around his high school handing a piece of paper to kids and saying, "Can you read this?" And it is crushing and damning, right? Like this, we have absolutely fucked it up for a long time. It's been like Gen Alpha can't read, Gen Alpha can't read. And we've been able to go, yes, but this and yes, but that. But like, no, this kid is just walking around his high school. And the sentence is something, she wore a silhouette of extraordinary. It was one of those ACT words like they gave us when we were going to work at call centers with like words to gauge our literacy level. And they were upperclassmen, clearly. These were older high school kids and they couldn't read it. Like one or two of them I've seen in the videos could get through the sentence. But at the end of it, the person asks, okay, and what does that mean? They didn't know.
Wow.
Oh, it was the words silhouette, extraordinary, and gauche were the trick words.
Wow. I know I often stop and ask students if they know what I mean by X term or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I explained to them what the judiciary committees were because they had no idea what that was. I explained the different welfare programs to them because they didn't know what they were. I explained to them how Social Security works in a very broad, general way. They had no idea, right? There's a lot. I mean, and some of that is youngness. I don't expect every 18-year-old to have a full understanding of Social Security, but those are the things that you should be covering in school, right? Like there should be a class on political, like public life, that you have to pay taxes and how property taxes work and how buying a house works and all of those things. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I think that should all be part of it. I think there should be useful stuff taught as well.
That was what our home economics class was. I can't remember if it was called that or not, but like it was things like how to boil water, how to balance a checkbook. That was where like and we only took it 1 year or 1 semester in high school, but I still remember the things I learned in that. But this is also there's a tension between the skill of reading and comprehension, and also what you're talking about, which is basically just knowledge, awareness of something. And something we did gate kept one of those things from them, or if not gate kept, then just kind of left it out.
It's surprising to me how many don't know how to use basic computer functions too, like how to save something to a flash drive. They have no idea how that works. How to send a file from one machine to another? Nope, no idea. I have a kid, like I require them to use Word files, .docx, because every student has access to them and they open on my computer. I can't open .pages, or that kind of thing. They won't go through Turnitin either. And I had a kid that this semester, he tried 5 different times. At one point, he turned in a zip file. Like, I don't know what he was doing. And finally, he got his paper uploaded. But it took him like 5 different tries and like 3 days of questions to get one .docx file in the right place. And that was an athlete on top of everything.
Well, and there's nothing weird or wrong about not knowing something, but you should be able to find out, like, so I like to read comments on things on social media, and especially because I like to watch movie reviews or something like that. And I saw a really common thing is someone's like, is this streaming somewhere? Why did you comment that on somebody's TikTok video? Like, you could have typed that into Google.
Right.
But you didn't. You typed it into the comments of a TikTok video that the person who made won't see and probably won't reply to. It's weird.
It sounds like my students, when they ask me like literally any question, I'm like, per the syllabus, per the syllabus, per the syllabus. And when I read them the policies at the beginning of the semester, I'm going to be like, you're going to feel like this doesn't apply to you. It 100% applies to you. And I give them the scenarios, like the attendance policy. I say I don't excuse absences for any reason, right? I give them 4 free absences for the semester. That's 2 weeks of class to do with as they please. Your dog dies, you have a fever, you just don't want to come to class. You get to decide how to use those 4. And over, students will be like, well, can you excuse this when I have a doctor's? Absolutely not. No. In a classes system where it costs money to go to the doctor, I'm definitely not going to, tell somebody they can't miss class unless they can afford to go to a doctor. That's just not the way that I work. And over, they asked me to make exceptions to things. I had one kid tell me that I was going to mark him as excused because he was ill, and that was a reason that he could miss. And I was like, no. Like, he formally, like, tried to tell me what to do. I love freshmen like that. I told him all about himself at one point. He was using the like emoji to respond instead of responding to emails, and he was marking all of his emails as high importance.
No.
Yeah. So I said, I hesitate to say this, but your education is my job, so I'm going to point this out. And I said, this is not professional, and this isn't professional, and you really shouldn't be doing that. So have a nice life. And he was like, I will keep that in mind. I'm like, good for you.
Right. Yeah, there's certain absences that are mandated by the university to be verified, 100%. Excused, and that's it. Yeah. That is, athletics is one, or a competition choir, whatever. But, anything that's under my discretion, like, there's no way for me to ensure the equity of what counts as excused or not. right?
Yeah, I don't excuse athletics either. They get just as many absences as everybody else. You know, they have the same rights and entitlements to my class as everybody else. I don't care that you're on the golf team. You don't get extra absences for that. You make up the work. You come to office hours. You do things like that. You don't just get a free pass because you're on the golf team or the football team or the basketball team or the girls softball team or the gymnastics team or the swimming team or the tennis team or whatever team you're on. I've had one from all of those. The diving team, the bowling team, the archery team. I think I've gotten on a list somewhere that I'm a good instructor for athletes because I am very accommodating. Like I will, if you come to me with like a schedule and you say, I can't do this and this, I'll be like, well, we're going to do this on this day and you can make it up, right? But if you just miss and don't try to work with me at all, that I'm not a lot of help.
They have their schedules well in advance.
Yeah. Like the BGSU band, the marching band went to Ireland last semester and I had several students that were going. They were all very proactive. I think the band was telling them to be proactive and say, can we do this? And can I do this beforehand? And all that kind of stuff, because they were very good about getting things arranged. So, as a group.
Did you bring a noun of Appalachian interest? Hi, Rue.
I did. Hello. She was too cute to leave sitting there. All right, this week's noun of Appalachian interest is Fiestaware, which is what happens when your dinner plates look like they have better personalities than half the people at the cookout. Fiestaware is that bright, colorful dinnerware that you've probably seen on TV or in somebody's cabinet or on a thrift store shelf, or even stacked in a kitchen where the owner has very firm opinions on which shade is best. Made in Newell, West Virginia by what is now called the Fiesta Tableware Company. Before that, it was the Homer Laughlin China Company, which had been tied to the Ohio Valley pottery world for generations. Fiesta itself came out in 1936 during the Great Depression, when a little color on the table probably felt like a small act of hope. And that's part of why I love it. Fiestaware is useful, but it's also dramatic. It's a bowl, yes, but it is a bowl that showed up dressed for a function. It doesn't whisper, here is your soup. It says, here is your soup, and it will be served in a turquoise bowl because we still deserve joy. The whole idea was that people could mix and match colors instead of buying one stiff matching set that looked like it belonged in a room nobody was allowed to sit in. And that makes sense to me. Appalachian kitchens have never been about perfection. They're about what gets used, what gets passed down. What survives the move, the divorce, the yard sale, the church basement, and somebody saying, now don't throw that away, that's still good. Fiestaware fits right into that world. It's collectible, but not delicate in any way that fancy china can be. You don't look at it and think, well, I better wait for the governor to come over. You look at it and think, put the beans in that orange bowl. And people do collect it. Lord, do they collect it. There are folks who can spot a discontinued color from across an antique mall like they've been trained by the FBI. They'll pick up a plate, flip it over, squint at the stamp, and suddenly they're talking dates, glazes, and whether the price is fair. Meanwhile, I'm standing there holding a mug thinking, this one is yellow. I like yellow. But behind all that color is labor. Fiestaware is not just a cute kitchen thing. It's also part of West Virginia manufacturing history. It comes from a place where people worked with their hands, where factory jobs shaped families and towns, and where something made in Appalachia ended up on tables all over the country. The company still operates in Newell today, and that matters. So yes, Fiestaware is cheerful, it's pretty, it makes leftovers look like they have plans for the evening, but it also carries a bigger story about work, place, design, and the way that ordinary objects become part of family memory. Because sometimes Appalachian history is a coal mine, a union hall, or a mountain road. And sometimes it's a stack of plates in 5 different colors sitting in a cabinet waiting for somebody to make cornbread. That has been this week's Down of Appalachian Interest, Fiestaware, bright, useful, a little extra, and somehow always ready for company.
We never had any. Did you have some?
I did when I was out on my own, but it's been on everything from The Big Bang Theory to, I've seen it on several different shows and in movies and stuff. I had, I think, the Walmart version of it.
I was just about to say, I had the knockoff.
Yeah, I don't think I had the real thing, but I knew exactly what it was when I started doing this research. It's one of those things everybody's grandma has a few of them.
Right. Oh, man. There's some photos of it on the Wikipedia page.
Uh-huh.
It's really bringing me back. This big display.
I didn't know that it was a West Virginia thing.
No, me neither.
We can thank Shanna for that tidbit.
Thank you, Shanna.
She knows her West Virginia.
They have a catalog.
They do?
I'm good looking. No, I don't think so. There's a subreddit. Fiestaware subreddit.
Lord, there's a subreddit for everything.
I think that's why the Google AI indexes Reddit for everything. That's a red flag.
Yeah, agreed.
We got scraped by an AI, though.
We did?
Yeah. One day I just opened up the analytics, and it wasn't a day like we had released an episode or anything, just middle of the week. And it was like hundreds of downloads. And I was like, wait a minute. And then I looked at the map, and they were all over the globe. But a lot of them came out of Vietnam, and that's kind of a dead giveaway. Like Finland, Vietnam, like that's where the big data centers are, and also the newest ones. And it was last month sometime, and in March, Google launched some new LLM thing, and so I would say a lot of folks got scraped. So I don't know. I feel kind of some ways about it, but it's kind of it's like, yeah, now an AI has all the stuff we say, but also it thought that we were a credible source. Somehow it got convinced that I think it's looking for like experiences, right? Like like the next stage of LLM learning is on to human experiences. So I don't know. What happens if you Google us?
We're fancy.
I'll have to open up an incognito
fancy,
window.
Rue. Did you know your mommy is fancy? She was unaware that her mommy was fancy. She's doing so good, but I'm interested to see how she's going to do on the road trip when we have to pee in different places, and
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
Well, Spotify global. Oh, is this our website? Yeah, it is.
Which needs desperately updated. Because I'm paying for it.
Yeah, ain't that the way? Yeah, mostly our episodes come up, which makes sense.
What are you doing for the rest of the day?
I'm driving up to Fargo. I have a test at the hospital up there at the crack of dawn. Like, I have to be there at 7. And I knew I wasn't going to get up at 3 and be on the road by 4 or whatever. And if I was, it wouldn't be like might be sleepy or something. So I just got a hotel. I had some rewards points left over from when I was a recruiter. I traveled all the time and stayed at hotels and stuff. So I got a hotel there in Fargo for like $60. I figured whatever, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So get up at 4 a.m. and you're like, there's no way I can drive. I'm too sleepy. Because I'm like fucking narcoleptic. If I'm too sleepy to drive, I will fall asleep.
Yeah. I try to be very careful about that because I'm not a good driver when I'm sleepy.
I've had to, like, especially when I was on the road for recruitment, I've had to like stop on the side of the road and lay the chair back and sleep, to like take a nap. And this is before I had done the sleep study and knew that I had a sleep disorder. But I was like, this isn't safe. I'm going to die or kill somebody or wreck this car. So it's not as bad now that I have, treatment and stuff, but still.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to Fargo and maybe I might eat something interesting, get some Thai food, might see a movie. They have actual movie theaters there. I don't know. Might do some stuff that you do in a place.
Nice.
What about you?
I'm going to give the dog a bath and get my bag packed and just pretty much take the day off because I have earned it. I got my grades in this morning, and so...
Hell yeah.
And then when I get back from our little vacation, it's time to dive back into the dissertation. So,
well, that'll be good. Get a reset, get back to work.
Yeah, I get to go get some Giovanni's, so I'm very excited about that. And then there's this bakery in New Boston called Sent from Heaven, and they make croissants, and then they deep fry them and dip them in icing. They are so ridiculous, but they are delicious. So good.
That sounds awesome.
I'm going to get me one of those. And maybe some tutors, too. My diabetic ass does not need that, but I'm getting it anyway. I don't care. So once in a 2-year trip, one little donut ain't going to kill me.
Yeah, the diet starts Monday.
Yeah, no, I try to be more careful than I used to be, for sure. But I ain't skipping a donut. That's all there is to it.
Right. Yeah, whenever I go home, I'm definitely hitting up like my favorite diner.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on getting out of the school year.
Thank you.
That goes for everybody else who was in one. Thanks for another week. This is our 50th episode. As promised, we didn't do anything special at all. But, maybe for our 1-year anniversary, which is next month.
Yeah, that'll be easier. We got 2 weeks to plan. So
we'll have a little bit more time. But yeah, have a good week, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.